Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're back to the best life ever. And guess what? I have Dr. Jesseca back here today, and we're going to resume our talk about how COVID has really changed us and how people probably aren't aware of some of the things that they're still doing that they can change and go back to what I would call normal, or what we might call normal, if they're just aware of it. So, Jessica, welcome back. And I hope that you had a great couple of weeks since we haven't talked. And I want to talk about COVID. I'll start off, okay? Is that all right with you?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
All right. So I went to a networking. I've been going to a lot of networking. Now, networking during COVID was the elbow touch, the fist bump, the mask or two, 6 feet apart. You had to yell at each other, and they were not friendly. And even sitting at a seat where maybe you may had six chairs, now you had four at the time. So we're back to six chairs. Some people are shaking hands, but I still notice that people are distant and they're cautious. So in other words, if I go up to talk to somebody that's in conversation, they're still not like saying, come on in, welcome in, like come on into the
Mhm.
conversation. They're kind of look at me and I'm out there. I feel like I'm invisible and I'm trying to get you know, uh, into the conversation. Now, some of that is obviously poor networking or people that are afraid, but I do notice that there's still this COVID fear that we can't let everybody in. And I
Hmm.
know that there's still this caution, like they're afraid. I
Wow.
also noticed that going like to where did I go the other day? I had to stand in line. Oh, I know. I was at the UPS store. I had to get some
Mhm.
printing done. And I noticed that there's this long line, right? It's out the door because the three people and all these people decide to come at the same time. But people were separated far away from each other,
Mhm.
which ended up out the door. Even the people out the door on the parking lot was still like 4 or 5 feet away from the person in front of them. Now, I don't mean you got to be up their butt because, we used to do that, but we don't have to do that anymore. But the bottom line is they're still far apart and they're still cautious. So those
Mhm.
are some of the things I'm noticing. And I know as we begin to talk, I'll probably remember some of the other things that I've caught along the way. So tell me, have
Mhm.
you, tell me some of the things you're thinking about when it comes to how humanity has
Mm.
separated itself from that molecule we exchange when we're together.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. In I guess I have a different experience in my networking groups, and we're in different states. So I don't know, maybe that has something to do with it. So networking, it's not like you're experiencing. People aren't social distancing like that. Sometimes people say, "Oh, I'm sick, so I'm just going to rub elbows today." Or someone's in a mask because they're like, "Oh, I'm sick," or they don't even come because they're like, "Oh, I'm sick." So our networking meetings for healthcare usually take place in a healthcare facility, and so we have to take care of the people that are there, the patients
Right.
or residents. So
Mhm.
I see that. I do definitely see some more social distancing out and about in the larger community.
Mhm.
And even me myself, I just noticed myself automatically kind of standing 4 to 6 feet away from someone now.
Mhm.
Whereas usually it was there. I just it was a little bit closer together, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think in the larger community, I think what I'm noticing now is, and we kind of touched on this last time, everyone still talks about it. Like it comes up so naturally in every conversation. People will say, "Oh, remember the COVID days?" or someone else will be like, "Well, they're still here because we have COVID in our building. We have the same regulations that we have to go through." So I feel like people are still talking about it
Mhm.
as if it's 2021 or 2022. And here we are, so many years later, and it's still affecting us so much.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed.
It's emotional, don't you think? Don't you see it? I
I
see
think
it as
so.
emotional. I mean, if
Yeah.
you break with the rule, people get emotional about it, and they don't
Hmm.
like you because they think you're doing something wrong when in essence you're just, you're being normal now. What
Right.
about
Right.
What about the kids? I've noticed also,
Hmm.
my grandkids are in their 20s. And so when COVID hit, one of them was, let's see, 16. So
Hmm.
she couldn't go to school. And I think she
Hmm.
couldn't do a prom, or it was, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
no, she couldn't have a prom. Okay. So that was a part of her life that's missed out. And I can tell you that they have this, scar. They got a scar from it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
feel it. They feel they got chipped out of something, and you're never going to replace that. There's nothing to replace it. And so there's
Hmm.
this little bit of bitterness about that. And the other thing I
Yeah.
noticed, they're still concerned about what happened. I mean,
Hmm.
that leads us to some of the things that are coming out right now about, was the vaccine any good? People lost their jobs.
Hmm.
People were fired for. I just, I had somebody on, Krista. She was fired
Hmm.
because she wouldn't take the shot where I was
Yeah.
working. She wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't take all of them, and I actually was not literally face to face told, no, you're fired. I was weeded out, and
Mm.
and I finally said, you know what I said? I said, look, I've only been here a few months, and I know. I said I've only been here for 30 days, so I don't even have to put you on my resume. So I said
Hmm.
I could leave tomorrow, and that didn't go too well. But the bottom line was I was going to make my own decisions on how many shots you want us to take. I mean, it was kind of like,
Hmm.
okay, you got to take this one, and then you got to take the flu shot. And they were literally laying all this on us. I'm
Hmm.
like, in my life, I've never taken a flu shot in my entire life. So you're
Hmm.
telling me, because I have allergies to certain medications. So
Hmm.
I just can't
Hmm.
take it. So I
Yeah.
must have, what I need I don't get sick. So I'm okay. But hey, it's my decision. It was
Yeah.
my decision.
Yeah.
I'll stay home
Yeah.
if I get sick, and but I'm not taking the shot. And I got weaseled out. It was really funny the way I got weaseled out. I left. I mean, I quit,
Mm.
but it was my
Yeah.
decision at the end. But they were putting me in a corner so that I had to make a choice. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I did.
Yeah. That was, I mean, one of my scars. I think we all have scars from COVID. All, no matter who you are, no matter what industry you were in, no matter how old you were, I think people have scars. But one of the things that really hurt me and others is I was one of the ones that had to fire people because they didn't get the shot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I couldn't fight it. It was like I got them all. It was like it was, I was like, it's fine. And in my state, we, for healthcare, you have to get the flu shot every year or you have to wear a mask from October to March. Now, is that enforced? It depends on the place, but
Yeah.
that's the regulation. And so like I got the shot, but they weren't even giving us that. They weren't even saying just, wear a mask. We had to be masked up in the level 4 decontamination suit as if
Yeah.
we're like fighting Ebola
Yeah.
and get the vaccine. And I had to fire people if they didn't get it. And so I think it was so hard for me, and it it was really terrible. I felt horrible. I had to fire these people that I loved,
Yeah.
these great workers. And I felt like, that was such a scar for everyone. And then a month later, it was like, oh, if they don't get the shot, then they just have to wear this one type of mask. And I'm like, well, that doesn't help me. I just fired 3 people that
Yeah.
were wonderful. Like, come on. And
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if I didn't get the shot,
so,
they asked me to do get the test a couple times a day. 2 times a day I had
mhm,
my nose, and one of my nose, what do you call it, the septus or whatever,
the
blocked.
septum.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I,
yeah. Yeah.
in my right nose, I can no longer breathe. And
Mhm.
that it was because
Yeah.
I would get the every 2 times a day. And I
Mhm.
did take the first
Ugh.
vaccine, and I still were making me do that. So,
Yeah.
um,
Oh, same for us. Yeah. Yeah.
so let's talk about that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
when you have to submit yourself or succumb to authority that you don't agree with, that we all did this. We all trusted. And I know in our gut, a lot of us were like, oh, should we do this? Is it like, what's going on? I mean, I know the whole time I rebelled. I'm like, I can't believe that this is for real,
Hmm. Yeah.
And of
Yeah.
course, I would be called a conspiracy theorist because during that time, which I didn't even realize, but there was something in my gut that said that something's wrong here because I
Hmm.
was watching what was happening, and then I was hearing that you have to do this, this, and that. It didn't correlate together.
Yeah.
So now, what's happened to all of us because we all said, okay, just we're like little sheep. We're going to go into the wherever you want us to go. And now,
Hmm.
we're all cautious. Is that correct? Do you feel like a lot of us are cautious about
Hmm.
what authority is telling us, even when you work in a community today, you're feeling like,
Sure.
can I trust this leadership? You
Hmm.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think what you're speaking to is, um, you and I consult with businesses and we work with individuals too, but we also do business consulting, you and I. And what you're talking about is, how you communicate something, how you roll something out matters. And you have to really lay things out for people and help them to understand why certain decisions are being made. And that was not done. And at least in my state, sounds like yours as well.
Yeah.
Maybe others were better at it, but at least in my state, it was mandatory. It was not well understood. It was not well rolled out, and it was also so punitive. If you even asked a question, you
Yeah.
would. And I'm actually not a conspiracy theorist.
Mhm.
I am, I don't subscribe to a lot of that
Yeah.
stuff,
I'm not either.
but I was treated like one when I was
Yeah.
like, I'm
Exactly.
sorry, you want me to fire people? And then they, I would, get name called or just, your voice wasn't even heard,
Yeah.
in my state. So, I think that I think that that's it. How you communicate things matters and how you message things
Mhm.
matter. And this is why, now we are so many years later, we still don't know why. We still don't have, we still don't know a lot of these pieces that really would have helped. It
Yeah.
still would help. And there's still no conversation. And so, of course, people are going to fill in the blanks on their own
Mhm.
or be very cautious, like you're talking about.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
okay, is it still okay to shake hands with somebody? I don't know. I guess I'll rub elbows or just not go or just stand 6 feet away like
Yeah.
a weirdo
Yeah.
and at a networking meeting. I think that's the real harm that
Yeah.
happened here.
Yeah. Well, I think when they
Yeah.
asked me to wear an N95 and a mask over that
Oh
and
my
make
God.
phone calls in an office by myself at the door,
Yep.
that's when you could say I became a conspiracy theorist because I'm like, there's
Yep.
just no way. This doesn't make sense, and I'm not doing it. If you're afraid of me,
Right.
don't come in my office when the door is closed. Okay. When you come in, if
Hmm.
you want to come in the door, I'll put the mask on for you, but don't come in when I don't have the mask on if you're very afraid. Because I'm not wearing these two
Yeah.
masks and talking on the phone. Oh,
Right.
I was, my
Right.
Italian temper really came out at that time because I thought, how could you make me try to dial the phone and people can't understand what I'm saying on the other end? So I just
I
didn't do it.
know.
I made my
Yeah.
own decisions that what made sense. And of course
Yeah.
I know that the ED that was there at the time, this was at an assisted living I was at. She was like, Connie, you have to do it. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. And she let me stay without that. We didn't argue anything. She's my friend today. She's still my friend.
Mhm.
At the
Mhm.
time I was
Yeah.
working with her, I'm like, you're making bad decisions on stuff that you really aren't sure of. And that's what I saw in a
Mhm.
lot of places like, well, this is what they told us to say. This is what we're going to
Mhm.
do. And you have to follow it, even if it doesn't make sense. Like you said, we don't have a reason of why we're doing any of this, but you have to do it anyway. And you better do it. Otherwise, you're
Mhm.
checked off as a bad person. I thought, you know what?
Mhm.
I'll be a bad person because I can find all kinds of work to do. I don't have to work here. And that brings me
Right.
to the fact that they don't have good people working in the communities today. We don't have they don't have the a lot of people left. Okay,
Mhm.
a lot of people
A
left
lot of
this
people
industry.
left our healthcare industry in general.
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah.
two of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're two of them that have left, and I have a whole string of people behind me that said, I'm not going back there because, yeah, not so much that you want to rebel, but the fact that you're not understanding why you're doing this to me. And I'm feeling like I still live in America. So I do have liberty, I have freedom. So I'm going to exercise that. And I'm leaving. And so, yeah, they lost
Yeah.
a lot of people because of that. But um,
Yeah. Yeah.
there was the other thing that I was also noticing and thinking about before we got together was more about the young people. What I noticed in their the way that they think. You have a young child, so
Mm-hmm.
they weren't allowed to go to school. Um, they weren't allowed to have friends and play. I mean, they were isolated. I have a
Mm-hmm.
nephew that was born during COVID and never could play with anybody. He's now 5,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
and it was just in their house occupying him. And the way that we got to see him and see what his progress was through social media.
Mm. Yeah.
He's an SM baby, 100%. And
Mm.
when he finally got to come and be with our big fat Italian family, he was scared to death at first.
Yeah.
He's like, "What is
Right.
this?"
Everybody's
Um,
talking with their hands and wants to touch you and
yeah,
love all
yeah,
over you and pinch your cheeks and yep.
yeah. He was having a hard time, and I do think that a lot of kids today are still thinking, why are they doing it that way? When, I had, they don't even realize that they were isolated. I mean, he doesn't realize he was isolated because his
Mm-hmm.
parents were trying to protect him. And he was a little squirt too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Aw.
he could have had an
Yeah.
immune system that could have been detrimental to him. But he grew up like that. It's kind of like growing up, um, being locked in your house, and you don't know it until like later on when you're 10 or 11, you see people playing outside and you don't even know why they're out there because you're
Mm-hmm.
inside. And I think that
Yeah.
he grew up like that. And honestly, he's a great kid.
Mm-hmm.
But what is missing with him in the future? Will he have the same
Yeah.
social skills that everybody else has? Will any of the
Mm-hmm.
kids that were locked in their house for a couple years have the same
Mm-hmm.
social skills that they had, um, like
Yeah.
that we had? I don't think so. I think there's something in us. It's a chemical that people feed, right? We feed it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I haven't read the research, so I'm not super prepared to talk about it. But there is research coming out now about children and how COVID affected them in different ways. So people can definitely look that up. Maybe we can leave some things in the show notes, just because off the top of my head I can't cite it. But there is some really interesting research coming out now that these kids are older. They have different behaviors where there's different behaviors in school, those kinds of things. We were lucky actually. We missed it because my son was in daycare and it was a site that actually never closed.
Oh,
I mean, so we were extremely lucky. And then COVID was over by the time he went into kindergarten. So we were all right. And I was working because I was in healthcare. My husband was never remote because his job can't be remote. So our life was relatively normal. So we kind of missed it. So I don't have any personal, I have friends that definitely, they say that their kids were affected and things like that. Like you said, the older kids that were missing some of those high school and college experiences who didn't get a prom and then, you know, didn't, didn't have a normal college graduation, those kinds of things, didn't have a
yeah.
normal high school graduation.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that missing part. And I think because we all experience those things as a community,
Mhm.
um, it can't help but affect us. And it's like there's a COVID sized hole that we're all walking around with
Yeah,
inside of us.
it is. It's kind of like the kids that grew up during World War II. Um, what people were like that came out of that. I was born in the 50s, so I was right out of World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So my aunts and
Mm-hmm.
uncles, and I had several uncles that fought in the war. And
Mm-hmm.
so you, as a little child, that's kind of what I would hear, the fear,
Mm-hmm.
is he okay or this or that.
Yeah.
And even as a small child, I watched my great granddaughter. she's 16 months. I I watch the reaction that she gets just by watching our reactions or our
Mm,
tone of voice. She
hmm.
actually can tell. She doesn't know what's going on. But I had TV on the other day and we were watching Little House on the Prairie. That's the only show that my grandkids will let me have her watch. Which you know what?
Oh,
I'm going to buy the tapes because she
yeah.
likes that. But the commercials, I have to hold close, put her hand over her
Oh,
eyes.
oh gosh. Yeah.
But some of them are like, you got to be kidding, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, it's telling me that I have a Zoom.
We do.
I know. Like, I know
We're
I
on it.
have a Zoom. But yeah, so what I'm gonna do is buy her the tapes because the other day, um, who came on without a shirt on, and she's looking, and she's like, "What's that guy doing without any?" And she's only 16 months, but I could tell by her
Hmm.
facial expressions that she was like, "Huh, what is
Hmm.
that?" You know. The only
Hmm.
thing that was really funny or cute about her with watching commercials, what that Liberty commercial came on.
Hmm.
So she's not really talking yet. She goes blah blah blah. You know, she's got a babble, which
Yeah.
is really
Yeah.
cool. I got her to say Liberty, so
Oh,
she
cute. Aw.
so she goes
That is
Liberty.
a cat. That's a catchy jingle too.
But all in all,
Funny.
I mean, she's growing up as after the COVID thing, and her parents
Mm.
have the stigma from the COVID thing, and they do. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
they're very,
Yeah.
very, very protective
Mm.
of her. You know, and you know what's going around? I don't know if you know this, but um,
Mm.
foot, mouth, and what was it? Hand, foot, and mouth.
Oh yeah, hand, foot, and mouth disease. Yeah, I read I feel like I read an article last year that we're having more instances of that with kids. And I'm like, how is that happening? I mean, I don't know about you, but those schools, my son comes home slathered in sanitizer. I don't know how
Yeah,
this is happening.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I have an old medical book that my mom gave me when she passed away. I said, I want that. It's a really good one. It was written in
Hmm.
70s or 80s, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I looked that up because we thought that we thought Eveluna had it, and because she was out at the zoo and she came back with some rashes and stuff. And a friend of mine, her whole family got it really bad, and so I looked it up,
Yeah.
and you know what it says in my book from the 80s, late 70s, 80s? It says
What?
it says it's not if you're looking at a rash, it's not hand, foot, and mouth disease because it was eradicated in this year because none of the animals have it anymore. So I think that we've had so many new people from different
Wow.
countries come in that they brought it back. So now we're dealing with it again. People
That
that
isn't, yeah, I'll have to look into that. I don't know about that either way, but yeah, I mean, well, so many things are coming back. I mean, we're playing all the hits. It's there's measles are coming back. There was a outbreak in my state.
chicken pox.
Yeah, well, chicken pox has kind of always been around, but
Mm.
yeah. Oh, well, I read an article about that about a year ago too, about how there was a the virologists who I know we're complaining about right now, but they were seeing a such a decrease in chickenpox. They because of all the social distancing in children, they were worried that people would become that they would experience it as adults, and you can get
Oh,
so much more sick
yeah,
as an adult, and it can actually be life threatening. So people they were
yeah.
putting out some articles like, hey, this might not be a good thing, and they were promoting some of those. I forget what the vaccine is that it's like shingles. That chickenpox I think has a
Herpes
vaccine, but it's
zoster
not
or something.
typically used.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, all sorts of stuff.
yeah.
And it's just how well, the other thing with COVID is I feel like there's not a lot of new research out about it either. Like people are still dealing with, we still don't know why people had long COVID. Every time I get COVID, I get sick for 6 months and I have no idea. I get long COVID every time. And I think I've had it at least 4 times.
Are you kidding
And
me?
oh
Wow.
yeah. Yeah. And those first couple of years I had it 3 times and
Oh
I get
my.
super sick. Um, so there was that, and then, but there's not, we don't know why some people got sick, but some people tested positive. We don't know why people had symptoms, but other people that didn't have symptoms that died. Like we don't know how there's still this weirdness and nebulousness around how deaths were counted. There was all this weird stuff around people would, die from a car accident, but if they had COVID, they would say they died of COVID. There's all of this. I don't want to promote a conspiracy theory, but like
Well, no,
there, it's
yeah,
just that there's so much that's unknown, and none of that has been investigated, or it hasn't come out, or at least they haven't done a good job of rolling it out to us.
some of
And I
it,
think that's, yeah, like
some of it has been
we,
out. It is out. They made some
yeah,
documentaries, and
yeah.
there were some doctors that did, and those were the hands-on people. They know they're telling the truth. Who said they were paid a certain amount of money, like the 11,000 for this, 14 for that, and then went up to 17,000 if you
Mm,
reported it as a COVID. If they were on a ventilator, they got like 30,000. So
yeah,
this doctor was saying, yes, there were doctors that took advantage of that and really got rich during COVID. And
lovely.
so they
No
were
wonder
paid.
they, no wonder they all retired.
That's
Ugh,
right. A lot of them
ugh,
have because they know
yeah,
they were after the money. So there are some real things that real people are saying. There are some real documentaries that are out that are talking
yeah.
about, this whole thing and even where it came from, how it started. It's funny. This is really weird. Okay. So, sometimes this happens to me, but I was reading this
Mm,
article about these two Chinese scientists that were in Canada who had
mm,
let a virus out from a lab in Canada.
mm,
They came
mm,
from China to Canada. Maybe they brought it with to study and they let it out. And because they found out in Canada that these two Chinese that they sent it back to China. But it was already out. Now, this was like
mm,
2 years before. This was 2 years before they had really the first case
mm,
of COVID. And they're
mm,
now looking at that whole situation to see if it was all related. At the
yeah,
time, I said to someone who was close to the government, I said, this is kind of weird now. Like if we hear like there's some kind of a breakout, this was 2 years before COVID. I said this.
mm,
If we hear some kind of an outbreak now, at least we know where it came from. Or did they send
mm,
it back to China? Or is it still in Canada? Or did it get loose? I was like asking all these questions, but that never hit
mm,
mainstream media. That
mm, yeah,
never hit. So I read it in a newspaper that I get, and that
mm,
never got out until later. And then there were some
mm,
documentaries on these two Chinese scientists that came to Canada with a
mm,
virus to experiment, and they were caught releasing it, and then they were sent
mm,
back. But now maybe that was related, and that you don't know.
yeah,
And I'm not forget the conspiracy stuff. This stuff really happened.
mm,
I'm telling you the truth. This really happened. You
yeah,
can find it. I'm not going to say anything that I don't know for sure that I read in a
yeah,
reputable place or heard from a reputable person that this actually happened. So if it
yeah,
happened, then yeah, maybe there's a lot we don't know. And
yeah,
you can speculate why, but you don't have to because you look to see what happened to people, what the
yeah,
result was.
yeah,
And what I really love about all this stuff, even if there was
mm,
conspiracy, how resilient America is,
mhm,
and many other people in other countries, how
mhm,
resilient they are to not succumbing to laying down and dying. They
mhm,
kept
yeah,
going. We
yeah,
kept going. We still had our grocery stores open. We still had normally we functioned with masks
mhm,
on and
right,
separating. But
right,
nobody said, "Oh my gosh." Well, I'm not saying nobody because there's a lot of people out there that did. But for the majority of us, we did not lay down and wait to die. We
yeah,
kept going.
yeah, yeah,
I love that. I love that about
yeah,
people. I love that about
yeah,
America. I love it about humanity that we don't, just because somebody says something, we don't just automatically lay down and die, you know?
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that that's why we are where we are today. I think we crossed a bridge, and that's why a
mhm,
lot of people are functioning better, but we have the residual of a lot of emotional stuff, trauma,
Yeah.
post-traumatic stress from some of the things that we did have to do with COVID,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I see it, and I started writing it down so we could talk about it, but you and I, we just talk anyway, so.
We do. We do. Yeah. Yeah. No, and it for, if I can put on my psychologist hat for a second, when I talk to people through trauma, a lot of the healing process is uncovering why things happened, getting some answers and getting some clarity. And, look at what, we consume a lot of the same media, and we still have different experiences about what has come out and what hasn't come out. And because there hasn't been this cohesive message,
That's it, yeah.
that's why everybody's kind of walking around like getting the answers like they can, and they're still walking around with these wounds because we still don't know what freaking happened, you
Yeah,
know?
and that's the key. What you're saying is we don't have a cohesive message. All of us do not know the same thing. I know this, you know that, other people know this, and we're not all it's not, and the social media is a platform that we could all learn from, and we're not, because we got this evil dark thing going on in that area as well. And so now we all have to kind of figure out for ourselves and pass it on
Oof,
as we can,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And then some people don't believe it anyway. So it's
I
like,
know.
because they're like, and well, what proof do you need? It's kind of like, to me, I'm not going to say anything unless I've verified it to the best of my ability, unless I read
Right.
10 places I verified and they all lied, which is
Hmm.
possible but not likely that I'm getting
Hmm.
my information. I check everything out. I have a
Yeah.
a son who's a federal agent, so it's like I know, if I say anything to him, he'd be pounding me on the head saying, "Well, you didn't check that out, or where did you get that from?" So I got to kind of be
Yeah.
trained, and I want to respect your
Yeah.
time because my timer went off. Are you good on time?
Oh yeah, I'm totally good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing that sticks in my craw about this is this is also the period of time where the do your own research was really kind of coming into its own, really before COVID, but then for COVID too. And it's like, no, I we we pay scientists out of our tax dollars, right? Like, I don't want to go comb Google Scholar just to answer a question about something.
Mhm.
That's why y'all exist.
Uh-huh.
So, like, why why can't you just get it together and get your messaging on point and give us the answers? I mean, like, I can do my own research, and yeah, I can do that, but not everybody's doing what you and I do. It is,
Yeah.
Connie. They're like, oh, I did my own research. I read 14 subreddits and my church group's Facebook group, and that's doing their own research. And it's like,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah.
that that that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing as going through a bunch of journal articles that you don't trust anyway,
Yeah.
and then throwing them out and saying like, nope, I'm gonna go with Corncob Bob and what he said on his Facebook. That's what I'm gonna go with.
Yeah.
But people are still doing that crap, and it drives me
I
nuts.
I know, but you know what? If we follow the money, that's the key.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
That's the bottom line. If we follow the money, who made the money? I mean,
Always.
we've got a guy way up at the top that made, he's done some really bad stuff for money at our expense. And if you were just
Mm-hmm.
followed every single thing your doctor said and you took all 18 prescriptions that your doctor
Mm-hmm.
said. Now, this happened to my mom, so I'm speaking from personal experience, also being in the healthcare industry, and
Mm-hmm.
also knowing a woman who broke off from pharmacy and started her own company where she goes around and verifies and checks senior citizens' prescriptions to make sure they're not crossing over, you
Uh-huh.
know? So
Yeah.
I came home one day from Georgia. When I lived in Georgia, I went to Illinois, and my sister was taking care of my mom. My mom was starting to get sick. She was just starting to start to get sick. I came home. There's 18 bottles of medicine on the kitchen table. All right,
Mm-hmm.
this is the daughter that takes no medicine. because when I was 21, medicine almost killed me. And so I went on a bench and I'd never ever take, I don't take antibiotics. I take nothing. Okay. Even at my age,
Mm-hmm.
I found ways that all this natural stuff and I do that. So, okay, not everybody
Mm-hmm.
wants to do that because it's still got to, you still got to pay, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't have any chemicals in my body. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at 18 bottles and I'm having a fit. I'm like, what is in this stuff? Right.
Yeah.
My mom was complaining. She was so tired. She couldn't walk from the stove, from the sofa to the kitchen table. So we were like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Right. She went to the heart doctor. Heart doctor didn't give her any bad reviews or anything. I said, I'm going to look at this medicine. And so I took
Mm-hmm.
every medicine down. And believe it or not, you could find all the results of what they are supposed to do online, at least at the time. This was
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
10 years ago, 11, 12. No, it was like 13 years ago. So I started looking up what all the ingredients in the prescription, what it did. She had 6 different prescriptions that lowered your blood pressure
Oh my
and
God.
the blood pressure medicine.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
tired? Are you're tired? What's your blood pressure?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
it's 80
Yeah.
over 20? How are you walking? No wonder you we took it to the doctor. I told my sisters and we took it to the doctor. And I
Mm-hmm.
was livid. My mom, like, I love this doctor. I love him. And she just loved her doctor. You know, she was from that era, the builder
Yeah.
generation that believed doctors are never going to do you any harm, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
was just kept writing her prescription every time she went, and she had him filled,
Yeah.
and she took them. So we
Wow.
went, and I told that I gave him a piece of my mind. I said, look, all 6 of you know what he said? I didn't
Mm.
know because I gave her that medicine for that and that medicine for that. And that's what it said it was for. I'm like, and you didn't know that all these
Mm-hmm.
medications lowered your blood pressure? And you got my
Mm-hmm.
mom on a really strong low blood pressure. Oh, you know what he said? I'll take them off. She could stop just like that. Oh, we'll take them off.
Wow.
No explanation.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry. Oh no, I'll look harder the next time. Nothing. Just said, okay, just
Wow.
we'll just take them off her list. She won't take these anymore. Sure enough, she got
Yeah.
better. So
Yeah. I bet.
we we look at what they all the stuff that they told us during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that I resisted because I am a natural person, and all the things that people did do that were a result physically, the prescriptions, the
Yeah.
chemicals, the ventilators, the this, the that, you know. And I know that people don't trust what they hear anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
they get really emotional about it
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that in a way is a good thing that it came out of, but at the same time, it's bad for the doctors. Doctors got to pull themselves together and start doing what's right for us again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they got to go with the code
Yeah.
that they signed that said it will do no harm. Um,
Mm-hmm.
one thing else that
Yeah.
came out of COVID, which I really love, is the concierge doctors. Do you know about them?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Love them. Oh, yeah. But we used them all of the time
Yeah,
at the community because, I worked a lot in dementia and memory care, and those folks can't go out to the doctor. That's just too much cognitive load for them. So, yeah, those concierge doctors were,
yeah. So I didn't know what
yeah.
they were until I had to go call on one for a home health company I was working with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, well, I need to sit down and find out what you do. They're
Mm-hmm.
like the old fashioned doctor from the town. They
Yep.
can, you know, he says, if you come in and your elbow hurts and your knee and your nose,
Mm-hmm.
guess what?
Mm-hmm.
I can see you for all 3 of those things in one visit.
Right. Right.
Or if you go to your doctor and you say, my elbow hurts and this hurts, they'll say, no, well, we're not going to worry about the knee. Just let's look at the elbow.
Right.
We'll bring you
Right.
back for the knee or we'll send you to a specialist. So a
Mm-hmm.
concierge doctor can do the old fashioned doctor thing. You actually
Mm-hmm.
belong to their club in a way. You pay them
Mm-hmm.
by the
Yep.
year and that becomes your doctor. And they are very careful about any medication that they're giving you. They know
Mm-hmm.
what's in it
Mm-hmm.
before
Yep.
they're not going to double, triple, and whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
they can treat a whole lot of things, you know. So
Yeah.
I that came out of COVID because the doctors were
Yeah.
leaving the corporate because they didn't want
Mm-hmm.
to do certain things. So let's hope we get more of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 I think there were some good things that came out of it too. We're all a lot more aware. You know, if a pandemic ever happens again, or even just a scare, even a flu scare, I think that we won't have to fire people, like that. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Let's just put on masks and do the things that we need to do.
Mhm.
But the I do also I think people are also very mad about senior livings and hospitals, and the kinds of things that were happening there. I know we were turning to hope, but so I'm bringing us back down. But there it's just that there was so much that happened. There were seniors in my community that are like, I don't care if I die, I just want to hug my daughter. And it's like, yeah, you should be able to do that in this country. You should be able
Yeah.
to make that decision. And I had to keep families apart, and I hated it.
Yeah. That reminds me of some stories, sad stories.
Yeah. I mean, we all experienced that, and the that's the thing. Our own autonomy was really taken away from us, and we were forced in the healthcare field. We were forced to force it on other people,
Yeah.
and that's not what I signed up for. I don't
Mm.
know about
No.
or yeah, it's like, come on, let's just do some things that make sense.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
I would go to the meetings and I would challenge people on a lot of stuff, because I felt
hmm
like if I wasn't doing that, I wasn't telling the truth. And,
hmm
I'm not a perfect human being, but I am a lousy liar. So I didn't want to just sit there and say, yes, yes, let's do that. Yes. Because in my mind, I'm thinking this is wrong.
yeah,
And I would question, I would ask questions, and sometimes they really appreciated it. Other times it was like, no, that's none of your business. Stay out of that. You're not the nurse. And
yeah,
then I
yeah.
got to
See,
say,
they didn't the state, we got on state calls every month, and they wouldn't even let us talk.
oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yep. Nope. After the first meeting, they shut all of our mics off,
Wow. That's
and
terrible.
didn't let us have a voice. And we could submit questions beforehand to an email, and
Okay.
sometimes they would answer, the ones that were, the
Yeah.
most popular ones or whatever. But yeah, it was really
Controlling.
ridiculous.
They were
Yeah,
they
very
were controlling,
controlling.
very controlling.
And
So
yeah,
another good thing that came out of COVID, Jessica,
yes,
is Zoom. I can do business
yes,
all over the United States. Oh, actually, the world.
it's true.
I can call myself international because I coached a gal in Belgium and in the UK, one for sales
hmm
and one for small business development. And when I
hmm
first got the call from the woman in Belgium, I think I might have told you this story offline. I said, and so where are you located? And she said, I'm in Belgium. And I said, "Oh,
Oh,
Belgium, Illinois?" She said, "No, the real Belgium."
no, Belgium.
And I'm like, "Oh my God, like
Wow.
we're talking, you're over there and I'm over here and we're talking." Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
so the fact that it opened up this world and how innovative was that? Like, why didn't we have that before? Why didn't we have that option? Like, who
yeah,
invented that? Isn't that funny? It's kind of like
yeah,
it came
yeah.
out of nowhere. We're going to stay home, and this is how we're going to communicate. And all of a sudden,
hmm
I called my financial guy. I go, okay, to put some stock in tech and healthcare
hmm
and finance, and he did,
hmm
and I made money because I made that decision.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Now I took it out of something. I took it out of something, and I put it in energy because I think we're going to go. And it's working.
Yeah,
So you kind of got to
yeah,
watch it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that was a benefit. Now, how that all came about, I don't know. I never thought about that, but maybe we could talk about that next time. Like,
No,
who came
yeah.
up
No,
with
it's
that?
great. No, it's great. It is. It's so many businesses were transformed, and now I know a lot of businesses are trying to get people back in the office, and people are like, no, we like this. Like,
Yeah.
why are you trying to bring me back? People are found they were so much more productive. Even, and there's a lot of research for online therapy now has been, and we had online therapy before, but now it really blew up.
Yeah.
And, there's all this research about that people are more comfortable because they're in their own space. They're
Mhm.
not face to face with somebody. They don't have the same like approval cues that they look for in a therapist like you would if you were in the room. And that's not to say traditional therapy is dead. It's absolutely not. I'm
Yeah.
a fan of both, but there's all this great stuff coming out about there's so many different ways to connect to people, to have resources.
Uh-huh.
The coaching space blew up, which I think is great, and that's also an example of people not either having access or maybe not totally trusting the traditional system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I think that's wonderful that people are going after all sorts of resources, like you and me.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking,
Yeah,
you and me. I wonder,
yeah.
and there's a very strong connection. Like we're still exchanging that human whatever, even on Zoom, even though I've
Right.
never seen you in person.
I
Um,
know. I know. Yeah.
I wonder what we'll do when we will see each other in person. I have an opportunity to go to Denver for the certification, and I thought, I wonder if I could see
Oh.
Jessica. I'm not sure if I'm
Oh,
going to.
yeah.
The
All right.
hotels are
Well,
too expensive, you know.
oh, they are. If you come, I will clear my schedule for you, my friend. And
Okay.
but I do need to go to Nashville at some point because
Okay.
yeah, gosh, I just like my mouth starts watering like Pavlov's dog thinking about the food. I know I've talked to you about that before, but it's
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
you can come anytime. I always tell people, okay, so I don't have an extra bedroom because that's my office, but I have a blow-up mattress, a couch, and a bed, and I will give you my bed and sleep on either one of them because they're very comfortable. So
Oh,
whatever,
yeah.
whatever you come, this way you don't have to pay. I mean,
Yeah.
for 3 days, I think the hotel was like probably $1,000 in Denver where I had to
Oh
go
my gosh. Yeah,
for
no.
3 nights. And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous because the certification doesn't cost that much. And and the plane
I
ride wouldn't
know.
cost that much. So, but I
It's
thought,
so
well,
expensive.
if I found like a cheap hotel way outside that I had to drive to, then I got to rent a car.
Yeah.
So I'm back up
Yeah.
to a
Yeah.
thousand dollars, right?
So now you're back up to 1,000. I know. Yeah. You can come to
Um,
Casa de Thai anytime, but yeah,
yeah,
it's about a
yeah.
half an hour drive though. But we'll work it out. We'll work it out.
So guess what? I'm
But
doing it. I'm probably doing it online. I'm gonna do the
yeah, there
certification.
you go. There you go.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you, COVID, for Zoom and
Thank you.
online.
Thank you, COVID, for online training.
No kidding, that's for sure. So, well,
Yeah.
I
Oh
want to
my gosh.
respect your time. I don't know. I think are we doing okay?
I'm I'm getting
Maybe
I'm getting close. I'm getting close to my hard stop.
okay.
So whenever you want
All
to
right.
wrap up is fine.
All
Yeah.
right. So we'll wrap it up, and I think that we'll just keep looking around to see. My big thing about the COVID thing is, and we'll get back together again in like maybe a month or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really just think that it affected the human spirit, and that's really
Yeah.
it's really what I would like to. Hopefully, this will make people aware because I think we can get it back. I do.
Yeah.
I know the young kids they lost opportunities, but maybe somehow they can make something good out of it. Just like we made, the Zoom,
Yeah.
being able to talk to people all over the world. Maybe somehow they can come to a place where they can make something good out of it and help the other kids that may still have like a little
Yeah.
PTSD from that. So that's my wish and my prayer that people don't let them get stuck. That's
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. Don't get stuck. I just hate when I run into people that get stuck, and that's why we both do what we do, because we don't want
That's right.
people to get stuck. It does us not
Yep.
healthy. Kills them
That's
early.
right.
Gives them
Yep.
diseases. Yeah. So,
It does.
all right,
Yep.
Jessica. Well, thanks for coming back on, and we'll do this again, and just
All right.
start gathering anything you want to talk about, and we'll get back on and make sure
That
that
sounds great.
we
Yeah.
support the
Thanks for
people.
having me.
Okay.
Always
All
good to
right.
talk to you.
You too. Talk to you
All
later. Talk to
right.
you
Talk to you
soon.
later.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.